Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're doing a story time video. I have not really done a video like this ever, but I thought it would be really exciting to talk about it. This video isn't going to be like super crazy, but I wanted to share it in honor of Halloween being so close, and I do really want to start doing a lot more storytime videos and more of lifestyle related videos. So if you're into that, or if you're into my couponing, you can hit the subscribe button down below. It'll notify you of when I do more videos. And if you're interested in just story times, then let me know down below what kind of story times you'd like to see. Thumbs up this video for more. And yeah, so I'm just going to get started. So, I'm going to begin with my first kind of paranormal experience I ever had. So, it was living in this house that was living with. I was living with me, my mom, my grandfather, and my grandma at the time. My little brother was not born yet because I was still kind of young enough to remember, but he was born when I was 7, so I think this was about maybe like 5 or 6. But my first like paranormal type experience or unexplained experience that I had was whenever we would go to sleep. In this house, it was kind of not a weird layout, but to explain it is kind of weird. So basically, the front door is right here, and when you walk into the front door and go to your left, that is the living room. There's like a archway, and then there's the living room. And in the living room on this side, there is a huge entertainment center where the TV was. And there was a, I don't know if you want to call it like fancy stereo system, but it was a pretty like intense stereo system. And so, obviously, it would take a lot of, I guess, time to mess with it if you have never, like, messed with a stereo system before. But, yeah, just a little tidbit because that's going to be included in the rest of this video. So, whenever we would go to bed, you could hear these stereo playing. And so at first I thought it was just my grandfather because he was, like I said, the radio was kind of complicated. So he was usually the only person who would mess with it because it would already be kind of like, I guess you want to say like programmed or already like, fixed and done and connected to everything it needed to be so that we could just use the TV and that was it. But it would always be playing. It would always play like this weird like music that I can't really explain. Like, I don't even know if there's like a genre for it. It was just like this weird kind of eerie music. Not like something you hear in like a horror movie, but just something that like we didn't listen to very often, or a song that like I've never heard before, like ever. So that would play all the time, like all the time. And I would just kind of play it off like I just thought it was him. But then as I started to get a little bit older, and I think my brother might have been a baby by now, I can't remember like 100%, so forgive me on that. But it did happen like quite a few times, and there was one time that I vividly remember. I was like wide awake, like able to understand what time it was, who was in the house, like what was going on, and everybody was asleep. And this happened. So I kind of figured, okay, something's going on that I don't really understand, but I mean, it never harmed us. It never, it was nothing to be like terribly scared of. So we kind of just let it happen. But that was like my first kind of unexplained experience where I was like, okay, nobody is in the house to do that. It's kind of weird that it's happening. You know what I mean? So we're going to fast forward to the episode number 2 where something happened in this house. So this one was actually the scariest, I think, event of my life. I have never dealt with anything this like not severe, like not to the point where like I almost died or anything, but it was honestly probably like the scariest paranormal experience I've ever had. And that was like, I couldn't explain. That was just the moment where I figured, okay, there's definitely something that is different in this house, and I am not okay with it. So I was laying in the room that we had, and I was laying with my brother. So to explain the way the room kind of was laid out that night, my brother's bed was right here, and I was kind of laying on the floor, but I was on a mattress. I don't remember why I was sleeping with him. I don't know if maybe like I just decided to sleep with him or he asked me, or maybe we were like watching a movie or something. Sometimes we do that where we're gonna be like watching something, so we'll just kind of like camp out in each other's rooms or something. But I was in there with him. And from the beginning, like, this room was just like a weird room. I don't, from what I know, nothing like took place in that room. Like, nobody was like murdered, or there was nothing like underneath there, or nobody was like buried there, or nobody lost their life there. So I don't know. Maybe something did, or maybe there was an older lady there before us. So maybe what had happened is um, like she maybe had passed away in that room and that was just her. I don't know. But this was like the scariest event that I had. So, I was laying on the mattress and I don't remember if I had woken up or maybe I was just, I'm like not a light sleeper, but I take a long time to fall asleep. So, my brother usually like crashes out within like seconds, but I usually toss and turn a little bit and I want to get comfortable and stuff like that. So I was just kind of trying to get comfortable, and my blanket seemed to keep moving. Like, I would lay it on a certain position and I would start to fall asleep and I would feel it move. But it wasn't like, in the movies where like they like the blanket like just rips off of you and stuff. Like, it wasn't like that. It was just kind of like I felt like I was being tugged at. Maybe like my mom was at the bed kind of like, telling me to wake up, or I think we had a cat at that time because I didn't have my dogs that I have now. Um so Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I was right. I had to think about that for a second. I only had my cat. So, like, I thought maybe that's what was, pawing at my blanket. It wasn't anything to, like, question yourself on or anything like that. So I just let it be. But then, the scariest thing that has ever happened to me, my blanket actually, like, lifted, like, up. Like, it just, like, lifted. And at first, because it happened twice. So the first time was not very dramatic. It kind of just went up, and I thought that maybe it was the wind because it was a very light blanket. Like, I don't think I have anything to represent how light this blanket was. It was almost like a sheet, kind of. So I thought maybe it had lifted just on its own, but we were inside. There was no windows open, there was no fan on. So it was kind of like impossible for it to kind of just go like that. You know what I mean? So it happened again, but this time it came all the way up, you guys, like all the way up. And that freaked me out. I mean, there was nobody standing there. There was no like face or anything like that. It was just the blanket moving. So I don't know if that was maybe whoever was there trying to tell me that they were there, or what the case was. I don't know what it was, but that was my sign that I just kind of got my stuff and left. I didn't make a huge deal. I just got my stuff and said, okay, I'm not going to sleep here tonight, and I went to my own room. So that never actually happened again, something like similar to that. However, like I said, that room was like just weird. It was something that I don't, like I said, I want to say that maybe the lady who was there before passed away in that room, because even our cat would not want to go in that room. It wasn't like every single time she would walk up there she would hiss, but there was about like 4 to 5 times that where she would go up there and she would either just sit there and not go fully into the room, or she would kind of just like hiss at the room. So that's the point where we were like, okay, obviously something is in there. But my mom was very, or still is very, like, I don't know how you want to call it. I guess very like content and not very like spooked by the supernatural or anything like that. She's very like calm and just like, okay, is going to let it be as long as there's not like no harm done to us physically. So that was very comforting because we had somebody who was kind of just like able to explain, what was going on and stuff like that. But it was still pretty like scary because that had never happened to me like ever. So from that point on, I was kind of like weary to go in there and like sleep in there. Like I said, no one ever got like hurt or scratched or um anything like that. I think I had like 2 times where I woke up with like scratches on my back and my legs, but that was pretty much it. Of course, that spooked me at that time, but that was pretty much it. Like, it didn't continuously happen or anything like that. So, the last thing that would always happen in this house, and to this day, you guys, I still don't know what caused it, if it's still happening or what it was, because it literally, like, I didn't want to mess with it. Like I said, my mom was very nonchalant. She was just like, as long as it doesn't hurt us. We didn't really go into it. So basically, what was going on is every time that I would be alone in the house, I would, for some reason, always have to be there when there would be some kind of like paranormal thing happening, or something that I like just like could not put my finger on as to why this would happen. So a few times it would be I would just be sitting on the couch or sitting in my room, and there would be this figure just walk across the hallway, in my room, by me, behind me. It was just this figure, and I still to this day do not know if maybe it was a family member of mine. At that time, I had not lost anybody super close to me yet. I did lose maybe one person, like a, not really an aunt, but like a cousin. I think that was probably the only like really close person that I had lost, because I hadn't lost my grandmother yet. So it wasn't, for what I could remember, it wasn't anybody like super close to me. But again, no harm was done. It was just a figure that would always pop up. And a few times it really did scare me, because I do have anxiety very bad. So whenever my anxiety would kind of peak and this figure, whoever it was, would walk around the house, it would just get even higher. So there was a couple times where I was just like, I'm freaking out at this point, but thankfully nothing was ever harmed. I don't know if maybe, like I said, it was just a family member who was like trying to get in contact with me, or someone who was just, being around me or watching over me. I don't really know, but it was always, I can always remember it was a like figure that was never like distinct, like never had features or anything like that. A lot of the times it would be like a black figure, and I didn't really want to do like a lot of research into it. I think once we kind of like Googled a picture of it, because I think I was like explaining to a friend of mine or something, like, because they really wanted to know like what was the like outline of the figure, or maybe like what it looked like, or maybe, something like of that nature. And I think at that time is when I actually like tried to find something that was like similar to it. And obviously Google was like the worst place to do it, but I just wanted to get like a like replica of what I was seeing, so that I could tell them this is what I was seeing. So like I said, nothing like super like intense or terribly scary, but that happened like pretty frequently until I moved out. And I still to this day, like I said, don't know why it was there, or who it was, or what caused it. I don't know. And I don't really like, I haven't had a an experience with it since I moved out, so maybe it kind of like went about its business, or went away, or whatever energy or whatever was in there went away. But that was something that happened pretty frequently. The radio going on and my sheets moving only happened one time, and but that figure was always there, like always would somehow, some way make its way around me, or walk by me, or in front of me, or something like that. Never like up close to me, or like I said, would never have like a face or eyes or anything like that. It was just the outline. So that was something that was pretty like unexplainable to me. I never really understood why it was happening. Of course it was really scary, because I was just kind of like, what is here? But I never had an answer to it. It just happened and happened until I finally moved out. And after I moved out, the only kind of paranormal thing that we had going on, which I don't think is a really scary thing, I think that it was um, more of my grandmother's presence, but it was still kind of creepy. Some of the things that like we put together and figured out were happening because of certain things, like um, so when my grandmother passed away, she always had this one chair that she would sit in, always. I can't remember because it's been a few years. I want to say that it was like it was more comfortable for her to sit in that chair. I believe that's what it was, because she did have a lot of like um, pain in her joints and her back, and just a lot of things with her body that were going on. So if I'm like correct, I think I'm like 98% sure that that's what it was. It was just more comfortable for her to be in that chair. But anyways, when she passed, my grandpa kind of moved the furniture around quite a lot. Just to make it easier on him. He went through having like the real small couches that she left behind, and then I think my mom gave him another couch, and like he just moved the furniture around quite a bit. Well, the first time that he moved the furniture, I think he just got rid of a piece and he moved it out to the it's not like a, what do I want to call it? Like an outside room. It's kind of like a separate room that they built away from the house, or an extension to the house that they built. And so, but he didn't move that chair. The second time, he moved that chair. And when he moved that chair, a lot of things started happening. And if you're into the paranormal stuff, if you were like believe in it or whatever the case is, you would know then that, there is pieces that stay attached to certain people. And sometimes when you move pieces like that, things happen, and I was one of the people who experienced that. Maybe it's not something that everybody who watches this video is going to believe in, but I truly did, because once that chair was moved, I started to feel like an energy in the house. um I saw well, I want to say that it was her because it was her house and her chair. um saw her once, and we had this really long hallway in the house, and I saw her there. She would walk up and down the hallway. She would see me and she would smile at me, and see or make a connection with me. But that's when she started to kind of show up more. There was also times where I felt like there was a little bit of like an angry energy in the house. There was never any, like I said, nothing like, nobody got injured, nobody was like scratched or like beaten or anything like that, but it just kind of felt like there was an angry atmosphere. And it only happened when that chair was moved. So eventually, thankfully, my grandfather moved the chair back, and none of that angry energy has been there since. I think my grandma does make her appearance every once in a while. She will like pass by you, you'll feel it, or you'll smell like her perfume every once in a while, or things like that, but never anything angry after that. And I really truly think that because that chair was moved, maybe she felt like she was being forgotten, even though of course I could never forget my grandmother. My grandmother was like my rock and my best friend through everything, but I feel like that might have been something that triggered a lot of stuff. But yeah, so that was all the paranormal activities that we had in my house. Like I said, nothing really like super crazy, but there was a couple of events that I really still to this day cannot put my finger on. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want to see, like I said, more story times, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!